Hello to another video of IELTS Master. As you can see, for today's video, we will be discussing some of the grammar, like the grammatical structure for the writing task. We would be mainly focusing on the GRA, that is grammatical range and accuracy, and GRA consists of 25% of your whole writing. So it is an essential part for your IELTS. And if you are focusing a little bit on this grammatical range and accuracy, it is really easier to get 7 bands or even more than that. Because in IELTS, the main thing is if you are able to show different sentence structures in your writing task 1 and task 2, you are bound to get that band score. For the most basic thing to start with the grammatical range and accuracy, it would be simple, compound, and complex sentences. Why? It is essential because it is some way imbibed in you, because when you were a child, you learned about these simple, complex, and compound sentences. Again, recalling this sentence structure is really, really, really easy because sentences that are simple are the one which are not joined by anything else like with and or because something like that. It is just a simple sentence as is. If you think about compound sentence in school, we know that they are joined by something. And for example, that's a compound sentence, so two different clauses and they are joined, like two different clauses and they are joined. For complex sentence, there are different structures, but for today's video, mainly we will be focusing on the simple and the compound sentences because I believe if we are taking baby steps, it is easier to grasp, it is easier to practice, it is easier to remember, and easier to replicate in the examination. So, whatever you are learning today, if you try to practice with your writing task, you will be able to see that you can write different varieties of sentences. And that's where mainly the students struggle because writing a variety of sentence structure, like listening to that sentence, it makes us feel that, oh, I don't know. I only know this, this, this. My knowledge about English is really limited. What should I do? But it is nothing but just like some sentence forms, and you can put your own words in it in that formula and you will be getting sentences real fast. For my experience, like if I try to say what I did, because I used to read a lot of newspapers, books, comics, so I never have had that situation where I needed to see all the structures. For me it was opposite, like I had no idea what sentence I was writing. So that was something that was puzzling. But again, when I became a teacher, I started focusing more and more on something that will be beneficial for the students. Because when you are appearing for the examination, you are preparing it in your own way, like whatever you feel is comfortable to you. You are not stepping out of that comfort zone. But once you are trying to prepare something for somebody else, you will be trying to focus on basic things, something that will be beneficial for the person, something that will be easier to grasp. So, yeah, that's the reason I started focusing more and more on the grammatical structures. Not only academic, I had GT students, and for them also, I used to prepare notes. And although I never used to teach them, like there was like different sections and so on, I never taught those students, but I made notes and I got those for them. And till today, they are thankful to me. They say so. And they say, ma'am, it is like due to you only we are getting this band score. That makes me feel happy. So, yeah, let's focus on today's topic. we are mainly focusing on the simple and the compound sentences for today. So, the simple and the compound. For complex, we can put that on a different video and we can focus that later on. So, let me just rub my whiteboard. And yeah, this is a new kind of video recording for me because I never ever had a whiteboard in my life which is portable, like I can carry it anywhere. So, getting that whiteboard and struggling to fix my phone was real struggle. Yeah. Okay. So, let's begin with our simple and compound structures. So basically, if we try to analyze the sentences, not only it ends in the complex sentences, there is another part to it which we will be adding in the next video, and that sentence is compound complex. That is that sentence. So simple, compound, complex, compound, complex. And now, these sentences, they are four types, and they are four types because they depend on the number of clauses they are having in them. For clause, it would be better if I try to focus on the different types of clause before we start embarking on the simple and the compound sentence structure. So for clause, there is independent clause that we know. So INDCL, I would say independent clause. And there is another clause which is dependent clause. Independent, dependent. By the name itself, we should be getting like an intuitive idea. Like independent, somebody who does not need anybody. Independent. Dependent, somebody who needs something else in order to like stand, or somebody who needs support of something else. So for independent clause, it is a clause that has a subject, a verb, and a complete thought. So if you try to differentiate between independent and dependent clause, first point you will notice for independent clause is they are having a subject, they are having a verb, they are having a complete thought, and that complete thought will be making that clause independent, in short. For dependent clauses, it also has a subject. So, yeah, there is subject and there is also a verb. But the main difference is the thought is not complete thought. So, that is the difference between independent and dependent clauses. And now we will be providing an example of each in order to understand that in a better way. Let me just rub that. To tell you honestly, it is a long time since the COVID hit that I am trying to use the whiteboard because nowadays, it is work from home. Everything you're making like a PPT and teaching everybody. So, yeah, this is a nice feeling. I wish my duster, not a duster, but this eraser was a little broader so that I was taking less and less time. But never mind. We can do this together. Okay, and we are done. Okay. So, examples for independent clause can be, let me put it this way, it can be I was traveling to, you can put any country that you want. I will put India. I was traveling to India last month. So that is an example of an independent clause. So that is an IC. I see the short for independent clause. And here you will be finding the subject, the verb, and a complete thought. And that makes a complete sense. If I put the sentence as is, it will be the same that, yeah, I was traveling to India. Yeah, that's what we are trying to say. So next, let's see what example can we give for a dependent clause. And again, the rubbing process or the erasing process begins. Bear with me. Okay. So for dependent clause, the example can be after I traveled to India last month. So here we can see there is the subject I and traveled is the verb that we need, but the thought after I traveled to India last month. It makes no sense. Nada. Like nothing. So that's a reason that is a dependent clause because it is waiting for another clause, which would be an independent clause, to make like full sense or complete sense. So, what can we say in this sentence? COVID or the pandemic occurred after I traveled to India. Yeah, that can be a good example. Or my friend got married after I traveled to India last month. Yeah, that can also be a good example. Or you can also say that I visited a holy place and then my friend invited to a party after I traveled to India last month. Anything like that. You can add something which is an independent sentence and then add this, like not independent sentence but independent clause, and then you can add this dependent clause which will make sense. So this is waiting for somebody to support this sentence. Okay, so I hope you are getting a clear picture of independent and dependent clause by now. If not, you can always comment in this video. You can see, you can mention anything in the comment that you are not finding easy, and I will try to explain that in my next video, because your comments, your emails, they are the ones that makes me realize that what kind of information is left to be given to you students, or what is something that is creating a barrier between you and that good band score. So, next we will be focusing on simple sentences. Simple sentence, as the name suggests, is simple and it has only one independent clause. So, simple sentence because they are not getting joined by any kind of conjunctions. They are simple and they are independent, and that's the reason they make sense. They can stand alone all by themselves. They don't need anybody's support. They are like self supporter. And let's check some examples. And yeah, whenever I try to focus on any kind of writing, I enjoy that when I'm trying to take some of my favorite characters from any TV series, from any movie, from any book that I read, My favorite TV show is The Office. So I'm really, really, really inclined to the show in that extent that I try to take the characters from that TV show and try to put them in the sentences that I'm making. And you will be getting more and more names from The Office in my videos. So, yeah, that's a spoiler alert. So, examples of simple sentences that is having independent clause. First example, like simple one can be Mike likes swimming. So this is a simple sentence. It is having one independent clause and it is giving you a complete meaning. Like there is nothing that's hidden, there is nothing that it is waiting, there is nothing like a support it needs. It is a complete sentence making total sense. And it has like the subject and what he likes swimming. Another sentence that we can say is if we try to say like what Mike likes instead of swimming or anything, you can also add like instead of saying only one thing like Mike likes swimming, you can say Mike likes, let me write that. Mike likes swimming. So I will put just S for swimming and traveling. So now here there can be situations where you might think that this and is creating a compound sentence, but this and is actually like adding compound direct objects. So here the and is not creating a compound sentence, but this is compound direct object. You can use this structure in your writing because this one and this one, we are trying to add that with and swimming, traveling being objects, they are getting added with the conjunction and that what it makes simple sentence with compound direct object. Let's check another statement or sentence. Let's think about another sentence with an and. So I can say Mike likes, ooh, likes, and teaches swimming or S. So here also you can see and. Here you can see and chances are that you will think that yeah it has and so it is a compound sentence. But again it is a simple sentence that is having compound verb. So compound verb likes and teaches, two verbs that is added with compound like a conjunction that is and. So this is also an example of a simple sentence. So you can use this structure whenever you are writing task 1 or task 2, but this will be again identified as a simple sentence but in a different form. So not only there is one type of simple sentence, but see, we are already on the third example. I'm rubbing the whole thing in green and kinda in red. Okay. And whenever you feel that something is beyond your understanding, you are not getting something that I'm explaining in the video, feel free to comment because the more you ask questions, the more clarity you will get and you will be remembering that thing throughout your life. That's the secret. When I was a student, I used to ask so much questions that my teacher sometimes would. be like, why? Why? But yeah, being a teacher, I am happy when students ask different questions because that also makes me think, that also lets me know something new and interesting if I don't know that already. Sometimes I learn so much from the students, so it is a good practice. Let's try to think about another example. So we already saw three examples. Let's try to think, can there be a fourth one? Yes, there can be a fourth one. So the fourth one can be Mike and Holly. Mike and Holly. I'm just joining two names. Mike and Holly teach swimming. Mike and Holly teach swimming. So in here, what we try to say by and is, it is not a compound sentence, but it is a simple sentence having compound subject, and that is Holly and Mike. They are two subjects that is joined by the conjunction and that makes this simple sentence having a compound subject. And do we have any other examples? We saw till now compound direct objects, compound verb, compound subject. There can be a sentence where you can just add all the three types and create one of your own, one of a kind. And let's check that. So, this will be a big one. Mike and Holly let's try with like and teach swimming and painting. So there are three different ands that is serving three different purposes, right? So the first and is a compound, like it is serving the purpose of a compound subject, like it is joining two subjects. The second and, let me write that too. The first and is joining two subjects. The second and is joining two verbs. And the third and is trying to join two direct objects. So this is another form of a simple sentence. Some of you may have never ever imagined that a simple sentence can be of five types according to the conjunction. But yeah, here we are. And you might be using that too, but may not be like having that clarification that whether this is a simple sentence or a compound sentence. But today you know that it is a simple sentence. So if you're using these different forms of simple sentences in the examination, the examiner will be seeing your effort, they will be seeing that you are using or trying to use at least different types of that simple sentence, or you're trying to use different forms of that. And yeah, that puts a good impression too, even if you are incorrect in some grammatical forms, like maybe you have something like a comma in here, which should not be there because it is not something that can be expressed with a comma, but by mistake, if you have mentioned something in the examination, you have written like that, they will be deducting band score, but your band score is already boosted because you have shown so many types of only simple sentence format, right? The simple sentences. I am just erasing it now, and we will be jumping on to the next topic because this was just to show you how many types of simple sentences can be there. Next, we will be focusing on something else in this video. We will be focusing on the punctuation rule because we just spoke about that. Okay, and okay, so for simple sentences, what will be the punctuation rule? For simple sentences, the major rule is no commas to separate. So for separating two compound elements. So no commas to separate a compound verb or a compound noun or a compound direct object. That is the rule for simple sentences. You should not be using commas. If you have used a comma, marks will be deducted. So better not take the risk. Okay. This takes so much time. Okay. And next we will be focusing on compound sentences. So simple sentence is done. It was short and sweet for simple sentences. And next, let's focus on compound sentences. Compound sentence. They contain two independent clauses. So simple sentence had only one independent clause. Compound sentence has they have like two independent clauses. And compound sentence, there is a formula how to create like make a compound sentence, and we call in our like lingo or language it is fan boys. So fanboys, they are actually the link that adds to independent clauses for making a compound sentences or making compound sentences. Many of you will know what fanboys are. Some of you might be hearing this for the first time. Many of you might be unknowingly using fanboys to create compound sentences. That was for my case because I had no idea about fanboys, and then I stumbled upon the grammatical rule and I was like, oh, this is nice. But yeah, many of you might be unconsciously, just like me, using fanboys, but you don't know. So let's see what fanboys are. Whose fan are they? And why boys? Girls are fans too. But yeah, fanboys is just the acronym for different, mm, so different links that you are using. Like if you try to think what is F, what is A, they are all separate words and they are used to join sentences together. So kind of a conjunction. And that's the reason they are under coordinating, coordinating conjunctions. So coordinating conjunctions, they are having fanboys. And let's see what fanboys are now. I will be erasing this part so that I can accommodate my fanboys in here. So under coordinating conjunctions, we have F, and F is for. We have A, and A is and. We have N, and N is nor. We have B, and B stands for but. And we have O, and O stands for or. We have Y, Y stands for yet. We have S, and S stands for so. So, in order to make a compound sentence, you can show the form of coordinating conjunctions. Let me just put the short form coordinating conjunctions in order to create compound sentences, and you can use fanboys, the formula or the abbreviation which you know, like what fanboy stands for. So yeah, you can use for, or you can use and, nor, but, or yet. So, and that will be giving you a different sentence structure. So till now we know five types of simple sentences that we can create, and now we have seven different types of compound sentences that falls under coordinating conjunction. So now you know 12. Grammatical range and accuracy, even if you are not having all kinds of grammatical like structures or grammatical sentences, like different forms of them, it is really good that you show them some. And now I think you will be like easily recollecting three or four types of them, if not all 12. Somebody or some students, they recall every single thing. So there are exceptionals too. Okay, so we have said about the fanboys, and fanboys is really important. Like you might forget different types of simple sentences, or yeah, you might forget that during exam, but you will never forget fanboys. Even you can also write fanboys at the top of your question paper. That will remind you that yeah, you have to use them, don't skip them. So fanboys is really, really helpful. So we just saw what is coordinating conjunction. Now let's focus on the second type, that is conjunctive adverb. We can create a compound sentence with conjunctive adverb other than the coordinating conjunction. So conjunctive adverb, I'm just writing it in a short way. For conjunctive adverb, let's see what are those conjunctions. So those conjunctions can be however, therefore, eventually, consequently, finally. Otherwise, anyway, moreover, similarly, hence, thus, accordingly. So these are some of the examples of conjunctive adverb, and using them in the examination will be really handy if you try to just have some of the examples. If you think about your task 1, we use finally, moreover, similarly, accordingly, thus, hence. We use them for the task 1, sometimes task 2. And again, however, consequently, therefore, eventually, we use like these are the commonly used words. And the reason there are sometimes some teachers who will be making you mug up some lines, like they will be asking you to read them thoroughly, and you will be like asked in examination, and then you have to reproduce the exact lines. So yeah, you know now why. Because they are a verb form for the compound sentences, and that is the reason why the teachers, they try to let you know that yeah, you need them in the examination. So let's focus on the words, and if you want, you can have an example for yourself. For this video, I haven't taken every single word to create an example, but I tried showing some example. So let's focus on that. And I'm rubbing or erasing my whiteboard. Okay, almost there. So let's check on some of the examples. And yeah, just to make you aware of one thing, there is also this, a semicolon. A semicolon is also used in order to make a sentence a compound sentence. So even if you are not using all those conjunctions, you are not using fanboys or anything like that, a semicolon can turn your sentence, like two independent clause, if you add a semicolon in between, that can also make that or transform that sentence into a compound sentence. So that's just the tip that I want to let you guys know. So now let's start with the examples. And for examples, we will first try to think something that we can add with maybe the fanboy structure. So it can be Mike likes, I will put S for swimming. So Mike likes swimming, comma. But, so the B of the fanboys is here now. But Holly or Holly likes, you can say singing, so SI. So Mike likes swimming, but Holly likes singing. So you are using compound sentence, like you're showing a compound sentence by using a coordinating conjunction that is with the form of fanboys. And this is a simple way of creating a compound sentence. Next example, we will be trying to use the conjunctive adverb, and let's say Mike likes swimming, semicolon. However, so we used however from the conjunctive adverbs. However, Holly likes singing. So here we are trying to use a conjunctive adverb and trying to make a compound sentence. These sentences, like individually, they make sense too. Mike likes swimming. It individually makes sense. Holly likes singing. It individually makes sense. So we know now how to create a compound sentence in so many different ways. And now let's try with the semicolon structure. Okay, and I will just use the same example and show you how different or what it can be if we are using a semicolon. So the first part will remain as is. So that is Mike likes swimming. And then we will be adding a semicolon and say his wife likes singing. So we have used the semicolon, we have used the fanboys, we have used conjunctive adverbs in order to show different structures for a compound sentence. And this is not that difficult how it sounds in the examination when they say that you have to use all different kinds of grammatical structure. It is simple if you are following what should be done, because you have all the examples in front of you, you have fanboys in front of you, and it is just your way of putting the sentence, your way of showing, and it is the location where you are putting them. Don't put like four simple structure together or five different types of compound structures all together. Try to mix them so that the examination does not get irritated, because you are only showing them only one kind of sentence structure. That would be kind of a variation that is being added. So that would be a better way to. So let's erase that. And now I will be letting you know about the punctuation rules. And for today's video, that will be the last topic, because we had the aim to focus on the first two structures, that is simple and compound, and we are almost there. So let's focus on the punctuation now. The punctuation rule for a compound sentence is there are three kinds of rules. One can be there is the independent clause, and there is a coordinating conjunction. So coordinating conjunction, and it is another independent clause. So if we try to think about our first example that we just gave, that was Mike likes swimming, but Holly likes singing. The coordinating conjunction is the fanboys thing, and it was but for that example. And we had two independent clauses which were like joined by but, which was a coordinating conjunction. So that is one of the rule, and there is a comma before the fanboys. So we have the comma too, and we had the comma too in our example. Next punctuation rule is independent clause, semicolon, and then we had the conjunctive, adverb or adv, and then plus independent clause. So for the second example that we had, which was Mike likes swimming, semicolon, however, Holly likes singing. So for that, however, was the conjunctive adverb, and two independent clauses were there standing all by themselves, and there was a semicolon before the conjunctive adverb. Third, third punctuation rule will be the semicolon rule. So independent clause, semicolon, independent clause. And for that we had the statement of the sentence, Mike likes swimming, his wife likes singing. And we had only the semicolon that tried to join the sentence all together. So this was in short what kinds of simple and compound structures you can put. For simple sentences, we saw there are 5 types that you can show during the examination. For compound, although the punctuation rules are 3, but actually there are plenty and plenty of structures that you can show with fanboys, with your conjunctive adverb. You can show plenty of them, and of course, with the semicolon, you can show one. So, again, if you are trying to practice putting the structure, like this structure is there, and you're trying to use sentences for writing your task 1 or task 2, it will be really beneficial for you, because whenever you're focusing on any formula, trying to put all the needed items like ingredients, it is something that will be imbibed in your mind, and that will be letting you know what to do in the examination too. And yeah, you can have your own coding, like fanboys, that is the code. You can make your own coding for the conjunctive adverb. You can try to sort them alphabetically. You can create abbreviations from the first letter after you are sorting that alphabetically. I used to do that during my examination, basically when I used to be in my school. So yeah, I used to do that, and it helped me a lot, remembering all those kings and queens and so on. So it is better to make your own formula, which will be helping you in the examination. So that was all for today. And for the next video, we will be focusing more on the complex and the compound complex structure. I'm not sure if we will be focusing on one at a time, because complex sentence is by itself something which is little bit massive than the simple and the compound structures. Complex sentence, there are different kinds of complex sentences, and it takes time for students to understand about complex sentences, because they feel something is complex if that is confusing. But no, complex sentence is different, and sentence that is confusing, that is a different. Like, you might not be using the correct grammatical structure, or you might not be using the correct grammatical form, but again, that is not a complex sentence. So thanks for watching the video, and if you liked my video, kindly like and subscribe to the channel. And you can also share the video with your friends who are preparing for IELTS and who will be preparing for IELTS in the near future. If you want, you can also click the bell button that is on your video that you can see over there. And yeah, if you are having any examination, then all the best for the examination. You will do it. You will do it. I am sure that you guys are preparing all well. You are putting your heart and soul. So we will be there for the next video. We will meet again. Thank you and have a great examination.